Hey, Dave here, Fix and Fly RC. Hey, just a little quick intro to the next video here. You've probably seen the length. It's a little lengthy, more than I would like to make normally. But, what I mentioned in a previous video is I'm starting to do a little bit more just actually documenting the process and showing you what I went through instead of just talking about it. Obviously skim through the parts you're not interested in, but it's more of showing you how I did it. And clearly, it's not the best way to do it, I'm sure, because there are some experienced builders out there. And one of these days, hopefully, to hear from some to kind of help me out. I got some thoughts on another plane that I want to build. It's a big project, and I've never done a full build before. So, but I kind of want to take one of those on and have that experience of building a big plane. So anyway, sorry for the lengthy video. As always, love to hear your comments, and happy flying. So let's get to it. Okay, so I went ahead and did this side first, and then we'll go back and I'll kind of do this side. So I cheated a little bit, I guess, to just kind of figure out how I want to do. And, as always, I probably got in a little bit of hurry and could have taken my time sending anywhere. But what I did was I pulled the ailerons off an old plane that I had mentioned I had crashed, and I had to cut them a little bit, but they were really, really close. And you can kind of see here, I mean, they're not perfect, but I think they'll do. And so what I did was, I measured, how much of the aileron was. So I needed how much I needed to cut back. Sorry. So if you look, on the wing that's not cut, I needed to know how much far I had to cut back. Now, one of the mistakes that I almost made is I had gone and bought, a couple of pieces of balsa, to put across here for stiffener, and I almost forgot to account for the width of that when I cut it out. Otherwise, this would have been sticking out too far. So fortunately, I thought about that. I marked all these ribs right here where I wanted them. And the one thing I did do that helped a little bit on this one is I just went ahead and took my T-pins here and, pushed them up. I used a smaller one. This is a big one. But pushed up there and got it in place. And then I used my CA glue to just set it in. And then, like I said, what I did was this aileron was just a little bit too long. And so I measured what I needed. And this one was just a slight bit taper. So I just used this as a template and then just cut it just a little bit shorter than what I needed. And of course, it's just taped in there. And so that's kind of, how that turned out. Not horrible. Again, for first time doing something like this. Of course, the thing I had to do is, okay, now I gotta, put a servo in there and run it. And so it just so happens that out of the other plane, I still have the plate that the servo was mounted on. So I was going to repurpose those, work smarter, not harder. And so what I did, right here, I just went ahead and took actually some wood out of the old plane and glued it in. Now, the one thing and the mistake I made here, and this is where I got a little too fast, is I put my plate on here so it set flush with the ribs, and I taped it all in place, including the wood, thinking that would hold it, and it moved a little bit. So I had to go back in and kind of grind this down just a little bit so it sets flush. So I'll do better on the other side. So anyway, that's how I got that side done. So effectively, it'll be ready. Of course, I got to cover it all and all that kind of stuff before I put the final aileron on. And then I'll have to figure out for sure how to run, my wires through there. But we'll get ready and we'll go cut this other side. Okay, so like I said, we got kind of start on the other side, learned a few little things, maybe try something a little different on this side. But the first thing we want to do, of course, is we need to know how far back we needed to go. And like I said, I took the ailerons from the other ones and used that width. And then of course you got to calculate. You had a little bit of space, for the hinges that need to go, and then of course the thickness of the balsa support there. So that's 1 3/4 inches. I have a set of calipers I use a lot. A ruler would work just as fine, but I have them and I use them for a lot of areas. So we need to know how far to cut. And so in this case, we can see we're cutting at this first one. And of course we got that 1, 2, 3, 4. We cut 5 out. Of course in this one, so we'll leave that one there. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there, just like we did here. So we go up to the first one. We'll go to the edge. We'll mark the 1 3/4 mark. We'll just go ahead and mark them all. Again, if I was doing a new build and a precision build, I'd probably take a little bit more time with this. But I'm actually using this as kind of a learning exercise anyway. And then what I want to do is I want to scribe me a line for this, to have me a cut. So I'm gonna, because this is a little bit at an angle, these spars are, I'm just using this bottom edge of this ruler. Lost my small square somewhere here in the workbench. This will work just fine. This old balsa wood is it's so old that I'm even having a little wonder once it goes up if the plane will even hold together. Okay, so I have my lines marked there. So balsa is pretty easy to cut. So I just got me a little X-Acto knife here, and I will try to figure which way I want to cut first. I'll cut this one first, I guess. Yeah, I'm gonna just add a thing. I have a little hacksaw blade here. I think I'm gonna. Yeah, that's definitely a lot better. Should have used that on the other one. Didn't have it up here then. Work smarter, not harder. All right, and then I'm gonna need to cut this off here to get the rest of it out. So. Probably blocking the camera. I'm gonna try to cut it this way. So all right, so we've cut out the area now for our aileron, and so I have a little piece here of the support rod that I want to use, and of course it's going to fit across here like this. So I could measure it, or I could stick it up here like this. And just mark the edge there. Just kind of double check it with it this way. So I'm gonna, in this case, I think it's just the line's a tad bit short. You can always cut a little bit off, so I'm gonna cut on the right side of my line. If I need to trim it a little bit, I can put it on a little piece of sandpaper or something. Oh, sorry, I It's hard to tell when you're in the camera sometimes, so not that you need to see me cut a piece of wood. And that fits very nicely right there. All right, so the next thing we'll do is we're going to want to put some CA glue, to glue this in. And so, of course, the question is, how do you kind of hold this in place? Try to tape it or whatever, but I've tried that. That didn't work very well for me. So I'm gonna get my some of my T-pins. If you don't have, if you're working on planes at all, these are for like actual balsa planes, but I use these on my styrofoam planes a lot when I'm having to glue stuff together, and they do a fantastic job of holding things together while the glue is setting. Highly recommend them. So I'm gonna make a mark in the center of each of these here. And then what I'm gonna do is I'll take my little T-pins and I'll stick them in. I'm gonna go ahead and puncture it through and then pull it back out, because I don't want to have to be pushing on this very hard when I'm putting it in place. So get the next one in. This is newer wood, so it's actually a little bit harder. I mean, it's balsa though, so I mean, it can't be that hard. All right, get that one. Find another one here. I've got two sizes of T-pins, and I'm just using the smaller ones. I lost that one somewhere. And I think I got one. There's my mark. I lost my mark. Okay, so as you can see, I've kind of got my T-pins kind of pre-positioned and ready to go here. Again, it'd probably be better if I had a nicer little work area or bench or something like that, but I'm just using what I got here. And what I'm doing is I'm putting my fingers on there just to make sure that it's flush. And probably what I'll do is, when I get ready to cover it, I'll just, put a little sandpaper across the edges, just in case there's a little spot that's missing. Okay, so now I've got my thing in place, and so we need to glue it. Excuse me. And this plane's small enough, my my little workbench doesn't fit. So I'm going to be using on this piece, I have two kind of instant CA glues. So there's this, what they call, it's a medium gap filler, and it's it says 5 to 10 seconds for it to cure. So if you've never used CA, be very careful. If you ever get this on your hands, you will glue your fingers together. And this is what's called super thin, and it's like 1 to 3 seconds, so it goes really fast. And then I use this accelerator as well. And so once I get it on there, you hit that accelerator, and then it's permanent glued. But let me pause just for a second here. So if you are working with CA glue, or any kind of glues, but especially, these kind of glues, a thing of acetone will be very handy to have by, because if you do happen to get some on your fingers, it doesn't just peel off, and or you can put it on a rag and you can, get in and you can break your fingers loose. I first time I ever used it, I didn't realize I had gotten some of my fingers, and when I got done, I couldn't pull them apart. And that's a good little, just a little thing to have on standby. I have me a little rag ready to go if I need it. So I'm going to go with the, it's a little thick, this is called a gap filler, it's, you know, gap filling. So if you do have a little bit of a gap, it'll kind of fill in that gap. You know, the instant cures, like if you got, especially if you got a, you know, a wing structure laid out and it's all pinned together, you can just do that thin glue, and it, man, it gets in that crack, and it just, it's there. So you don't, once you get some glue on there, you don't have to worry about coming apart. So we have the glue there. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to set it. Let's see how, I think I want to, yeah, I think I'm going to set it on the wing. Of course, with that camera you can't really see it, so I'm just going to go ahead and set it this way first. And so I have the little ribs here, so I'm going to do both sides, but let's see, I'm going to rotate that one just to, man, that little bit of glue came out, and I didn't even see it, and almost glued my hand down. This was out just a little bit, so I'm pushing in. Okay, so I'm butted up all the way there. So I didn't even see that the drop came out, and I almost glued my hand on there. I mean, that's how quickly it comes out. So I'm gonna put a little tab of glue there. And it'll set in just a second, but I'm gonna just hit it with a little CA. That'll just permanently set it real fast. And then you won't see this, but I'm gonna take my CA and I'm gonna hit the other side. I mean, don't take just a little bit to get into the cracks. Get a little with a little accelerator. And we have now got it ran down there and got on my fingers a little bit. And you want, one thing you'll notice that you want to kind of be in a pretty good ventilated area, because it will smoke. I'm getting a little bit of residue from that accelerator on there. Now, if it's possible that, you know, where I had the gap and everything, some glue might have got around that pin. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get my needle nose pliers here, just to hopefully help me remove these pins out. They're magnetic. Didn't know that. Probably sitting in near a magnet or something. Yeah, you can definitely tell they got a little glue around them. Which is a good thing, because, you know, the thing that's telling me is my glue definitely got all the way through, if it made it to the pin. Okay, so we now have the hole cut out for the aileron, and it's as solid as anything else on the plane right now, which ain't saying a lot. So we're gonna go get the aileron and we'll put that on. Okay, so we've got the other side, and of course you see it's too long. So what I'm gonna do is cut this side off to be level here, and then once I get that, I'll come back and cut the other side to be level with that, because you can see these have got little tapers on them from the plane they fit in, because of the wing, you know, the way the wing set, they were in a little bit of a taper. So I'm going to mark this and cut it. I think that's pretty straight. I think I'm just going to go cut it straight off, and then I'll come back and mark. So stand by. Okay, so I actually have a cut-off saw in my garage, so I just went and got me a nice smooth cut. And for now, I'm going to put that kind of flush right there. And what I'm going to do is using a Sharpie. I needed a Sharpie. And turn it over. So I made me another mark, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this line out, and that should give me just enough gap in between for movement. If not, can trim easy enough. So let's go cut this. Okay, so not perfect. It's got a little gap right here, but I haven't left any room for the hinges yet, so it'll come out pretty good. But just kind of taped it on just to kind of see what it's going to look like. So, you know, kind of looks like ailerons. They're not that great. So the next thing we need to do though is I'm going to recover again the servo system from the other wing, and then we'll need to install it. We'll put it in this hole, right? No, it was the second hole. We put it in the second hole, so we'll put it in this hole from the other plane. One thing I did notice that I messed up for, these have got a little bit of, these are kind of like almost like little I-beams, so I need to sand those down a little bit so the pieces of wood that I put on there fit nicely. So we got to go recover the other one and get it glued on. Okay, so what I did, just because you probably didn't see it, I went ahead and cut me a couple of square pieces. Actually, again, just pulling scraps out of an old plane, and cut it to length here. And then, you know, I put where my servo piece, where my servo is bolted onto in the little piece of wood there. I got it flush on the back side. Holding it in with tape's not the best thing, but I'm not going to put a lot of pressure on it. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to run me a little of my my gap filling glue in here. I do want to be careful though, because I don't want to glue this. I'm just thinking about if it runs down there. So probably what I'm gonna do is just gonna like just tack it, get it held on, and then I'll go run some more glue on it. So I'm gonna actually run my, I think I'm gonna stick with my thick so it doesn't run so bad. So I'm gonna put a little bit right there. 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 We'll hit that with some CA. And I'm going to take this loose and then we'll finish gluing it. Well, kind of as I expected, a little glue did seep down in there, and my cover got a little bit of glue on it, but I was able to push it off, you know, without breaking anything. So while I had everything apart, I just went ahead and finished gluing it. So, you know, I just put a little CA and, you know, filled in the grooves right there, and you know, put the accelerator on. And the reason for these is you can see the holes there. I had to sand, you can see I had to sand this one down to fit this particular plane. So I have to drill a couple more holes there, but it's to, you know, place the screw, the cover and the servo. So kind of effectively, the two wings are done-ish as far as the ailerons go. You know, we got the ailerons on there. Of course, we'll got a cover, and that's coming later. You You know, I think the next video series, I'm going to start working on how I'm going to run my cables. Because one thing is I'll make sure I'll have to run the wire through here before I put the covers and everything on like that on there. So we'll have to get all that kind of worked out. So anyway, I think that's going to be the next video, is just kind of figure out the wiring scheme from the battery, you know, for the receiver up here. I'll think about what I want the next step to be. I'm not sure. I still have to cut this off. That shouldn't be too easy. I'll just get my Dremel with a little cutting wheel, I think, and we'll cut it off. But I think I mentioned before, this is so thin, there's no way I'm going to be able to get, you know, hinges in there. So I'm going to have to probably, you know, use like hinge tape or something like that for the rudder. But that'll be okay. Don't think this is going to be an aerobatic plane. And of course, I'll have to get the rudders and the connectors and stuff for all that. So, all right. So we'll see you on the next video. It looks to be a mess, and who knows if it'll ever fly, but it's a project. Dave with Fix and Fly out here.